Okay, the question we're answering today is when you're changing a hot melt adhesive in a Nordson tank, how do you know when it's the new glue coming through or whether it's still the old stuff coming through? So this is pertinent to engineers in food factories and other factories that are using hot melt adhesive, where you're changing adhesive or you're flushing through the old adhesive and you need to know if it's the new adhesive that's coming through and whether you've got rid of all the old stuff in the tank and in the hoses. Now this is particularly important where you're dropping the temperature if you're using a lower temperature running adhesive and you have been using a high temperature one, because if you drop the temperature before the old adhesive is out of the system, it's going to solidify in the hoses and the guns and you won't be able to get it out at all. It'll just block up. So you need to know it's that all the new adhesive is in the whole throughout the system before you drop the temperatures. Now the issue is, once you've drained down the adhesive down to the heating fins in the bottom of the tank, how do you know how much is left in there? You don't want to drain it down completely because you'll pull all the muck through, which is generally in the bottom of the system. So you don't want to drain it down right to the bottom. You want to leave a little bit left in, but how do you know how much is left in and how much is left in the hoses and how much is left in the guns? So the tank we're using today is a Nordson ProBlue 4, just because the majority of our customers are using Nordsons. Okay, now you can work out on paper how much adhesive is in the hoses, but that doesn't tell you how much is in the bottom of the tank and in the system, in the pump, etc. But don't worry, because we've done that already. We've worked it out in a real life example of draining down and weighing how much adhesive is in this system. Okay, so the process for doing this, first of all, obviously you want to switch the tank on, melt down the adhesive that's in there and have the air connected up. And then once all this is done and it's melted down, you need to drain down from the side panel. As you can see in the picture, you've got the flap there that you open and drain down through that purge valve there. And then once you've done that, you've drained it down till the fins are just poking through. As I said before, you don't want to drain it down completely, but once it's down to the fins, then you need to top up with the new adhesive. And if you've got a colour tablet, put that in just after you put a thin layer of the new adhesive in. Once you've done that, you obviously have to wait for it to melt down again. And then after that, then you do the same process where you're draining down from the side panel again. And that's what we've done here. And as you can see, we've got drained down till that's about 1 kg of adhesive came out of there, and then further that came out after that, so it's 1550 grams precisely. I mean, that's till the blue, you can see the blue there, that's a blue tablet which we put in to aid us in seeing when the new adhesive came through. So what we found was 1550 grams came out from when the fins were poking through, right through to when the new adhesive started coming through. So once you've drained down the tank and you know it's got just the new adhesive in the tank, you then turn your attention to the actual hoses and guns. And this will depend on how many hoses you've got and how long the hoses are. What we worked out is that there's about 50 grams of adhesive per metre of hose. So in this exercise we did, we had an 8-foot hose, drained it down till the blue came through, and as you can see there, there's not very much. There's basically 122 grams, and that's an 8-foot hose or 2.44 metres. So that's where we got our figures from. 122 grams, 8-foot hose, or 50 grams per metre basically. Now this was just done with one hose for sake of simplicity. If you've got 4 hoses, you obviously need to do the same thing with each hose and then drain it through. Easier if you take the nozzles off, it comes through a bit faster, but you can see, especially if you've got a colour tablet in there, you can see it come through quite clearly. But even if you haven't, you can still work out 50 grams per hose, and we'll just work out how much you need to drain down for the new stuff to be entirely in the system. Okay, so just to wrap up, we've got 50 grams of adhesive in the actual each metre of hose, tiny bit in the guns, and then about 1.5 kg in the actual tank from the fins right through the system. So I hope you found that useful, especially if you're changing adhesive in your Nordson tank. Please give us a like or a subscribe if you want to know any other questions, and drop us a comment on any other queries you've got as regards changing adhesive and anything in hot melt.